The note had my name on it, and I had never seen the handwriting before. It was tucked under my windshield wiper. No envelope. No explanation. It said one line: "Do not miss the last seat." I almost threw it away, but that small decision led me to someone I was never supposed to find. My name is Jonah Pierce. I'm good at staying busy. I fix things for a living. Homes, offices, small shops. People like me, because I show up. But I don't stay long. Not in places. Not in feelings. My sister says I run from quiet. I tell her I just like motion. That was true, until the note found me first. And I couldn't explain why I kept it. The message bothered me all day. It sat in my pocket like heat. After work, I passed a small community center. A simple banner hung outside. It read, "Neighborhood voices, stories and songs." I didn't plan to stop. I slowed anyway. My foot hovered on the brake. I heard my own thought, clear and strange. "Go in. Just go in." I argued with myself. Then I parked. Inside, the room was nearly full. Only one seat remained. It was in the back row. The last seat. I sat down carefully, like someone might shout my name. Nobody did, but my chest felt watched. Then the lights softened, and a woman stepped to the mic. She wore a simple green sweater. Her hands shook once, then steadied. And when she spoke, my breath caught, because her voice felt familiar, not from memory, from somewhere deeper. She smiled, nervous. Then she began to read, and I realized the note was a nudge. Not a joke. But who nudged me and why? Her name was Mara. I learned it from the host. She told a story about a lost ring. A small thing, but it carried weight. Her words were plain, yet the room stayed still. I watched her more than I should. I tried to look away, but her eyes kept finding the floor, like she was guarding something tender. When she finished, people clapped softly. She nodded and stepped down fast. I stood up without thinking. I followed her toward the hallway. Then I stopped, because I didn't know what I'd say. My heart felt foolish, like a teen again. I took the folded note from my pocket. My thumb traced the ink. "Do not miss the last seat." It still made no sense. Then I heard a quiet prayer in my mind. Not my voice. "Lord, if this is you, lead me." And I wondered if I was losing it. Mara stood near a table of flyers. She stared at them without reading. I walked closer. My hands felt heavy. "Hey," I said. My voice came out rough. She looked up fast. Then her face softened, like she recognized me. But I was sure we'd never met. "Did you enjoy it?" she asked. Her tone stayed gentle. "I think so," I said. "I didn't plan to come." She nodded slowly, like she understood that. Then she glanced at my jacket pocket. Her eyes narrowed slightly. I felt exposed, like she could see the note through fabric. She swallowed. "Did you find something today?" My skin went cold. "How did you?" She shook her head once. "I'm sorry." "Forget I asked." But I didn't forget. I couldn't. I pulled out the note, and her lips parted just a little. Her eyes shone with fear. Not panic. Just wait. "That's it," she whispered. "That's the handwriting." I stared at her. "You know who wrote it?" She shook her head again. "But I know who it's for." She looked at me like a warning sign. Then she said 4 words. "It's for both of us." And suddenly the room felt too small. We stepped outside into the evening air. Street lights hummed softly above us. Mara held the note like it was fragile, like it could tear the truth open. "I've been getting them," she said. "Notes. Small nudges." I tried to laugh. It didn't come out. She kept going. Her voice stayed steady, but her hands shook. "Sometimes it's a phrase. Sometimes it's a dream." I wanted to be logical, to label it as stress. But I remembered my own sudden stop, my own foot on the brake. "How long?" I asked. My throat felt tight. "Long enough to stop doubting," she said. "Short enough to still be scared." I looked away. I hated that I believed her. "I don't do mystical stuff," I said. "I don't chase signs." Mara nodded. "I didn't either." She paused. Then her eyes watered. "I asked God for help once," she said. "And the help came like whispers." That word hit me. Whispers. I had heard that before. From my sister years ago. Mara took a slow breath. "This one is different," she said. "Different how?" I asked. My chest started to ache. She looked at the note again. Then she said the line that shook me. "It feels like God protecting something." But what needed protection? We walked to a nearby coffee shop. It was warm and quiet inside. Mara chose a table near the window. She sat like she might run. I sat across from her. I kept my hands open on the table. She stared at my fingers. Then she spoke softly. "Do you have a mother named Elaine?" Her voice barely carried. I froze. My mouth went dry. "Yes," I said. "She lives in Oregon." Mara's face changed, like the ground shifted under her. "My mother is also Elaine," she whispered. "But she doesn't live in Oregon." I blinked hard. That couldn't be real. Mara's eyes filled. She wiped them quickly. "My Elaine had a son," she said. "He was taken away as a baby." My skin prickled. I felt sick. She opened her wallet slowly. She slid out a photo. It was old, corners worn down. A young woman held a baby boy. She smiled through tears. Mara pushed the photo toward me. "My mother," she said. "And her son." I looked at the baby's face. My breath left my body, because the baby had my same birthmark, right under the jaw. I touched my own neck. My hands shook. Mara whispered, "Jonah." Her voice cracked. "I think you're the boy." And I realized love can arrive like a storm. I stood up fast. The chair scraped the floor. People glanced over. I didn't care. Mara flinched. But she didn't stand. I paced near the window. My head felt full of noise. "This is not possible," I said. My voice rose. Mara stayed quiet. She let my panic breathe. I stopped. I stared at her. "You're telling me we're connected," I said. "By a name and a picture?" Mara nodded slowly. "Yes." "Then why now?" I asked. "Why today?" She looked at the note again, like it was the only light she had. "Because my mother is sick," she said, "and she's been praying." My anger softened. My shoulders fell. Mara's voice went small. She asked God for one thing. She asked to see her son, before she leaves this world. The coffee shop sounds faded. Even the steam hiss felt distant. I sat down again. My eyes burned. I wanted to run, but something held me. A calm weight settled in my chest. Not pressure. Presence. It felt like a hand on my back. Gentle. Firm. And in my mind I heard it again. "Stay." I swallowed hard. I whispered without thinking, "God, if this is real, guide me." And for the first time I meant it. We drove to Mara's mother's house. Mara held the note the whole way. I kept looking at my hands, like they belonged to someone else. Mara spoke in short pieces. She didn't push. She told me her mother never stopped believing, even when life hurt. She told me her mother forgave people. Not because they deserved it, because she needed peace. Because faith kept her steady. I didn't know what to do with that. It felt too clean for the world. As we turned onto her street, my stomach twisted. I wanted to stop the car and breathe. Mara placed her hand near mine. Not touching, just near. I felt warmth from her skin. It steadied me. Some stories stay with us for a reason. Maybe this one was meant to find you too. We parked. The house looked ordinary, but my life didn't feel ordinary anymore. It felt like a door had opened. Mara looked at me. Her eyes held fear and hope. "Are you ready?" she asked. I wasn't. I nodded anyway, because the nudge wouldn't let me hide. And the last seat was now a doorway. Mara's mother lay on a couch. A blanket covered her knees. Her hair was silver. Her face looked tired but peaceful. She turned her head slowly. Her eyes landed on me. The air in the room changed. Like everything held its breath. She tried to sit up. Mara rushed to help her. But the older woman lifted one hand. A quiet signal. Then she looked at me again, and her mouth trembled. "Jonah," she whispered, like she was afraid to break the moment. My knees went weak. I held the doorway for balance. "I don't know," I said. My voice cracked. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She didn't wipe them. She reached toward me. Her hand shook. I walked forward slowly. Each step felt heavy and holy. I knelt beside her. I took her hand carefully. Her fingers squeezed mine. Not strong, but certain. "I knew God would do it," she whispered. "I just didn't know how." My eyes filled. I couldn't speak. Mara stood behind me. Her hand covered her mouth. Her mother touched my birthmark gently, like she had memorized it once. Then she breathed out a quiet prayer. "Thank you." I bowed my head. I didn't know the words, so I stayed silent. And that silence felt like faith. But the hardest part was still coming. After the tears, we sat at the table. Mara made tea. Her mother spoke slowly. She told the story in gentle pieces. She said she kept one photo. She kept one name. She said she prayed in small whispers, when nobody else believed. I listened like a child, like my whole past was being rebuilt. Mara watched me carefully. Her gaze carried quiet strength. Later, when her mother fell asleep, we stepped outside. The night air felt clean. Mara leaned against the porch rail. Her shoulders shook. "You okay?" I asked. My voice was softer now. She nodded, then shook her head. Both at once. "I didn't plan to meet you like this," she said. "I didn't plan any of it." I looked at her face. The porch light warmed her skin. I saw her fear. I saw her courage. And I felt something else. Something dangerous and beautiful. Not just family connection. Not just relief. A pull. A tenderness. I hated myself for feeling it. Then I realized I didn't have to hate it. Love doesn't always arrive with roses. Sometimes it arrives with a wound that finally closes. Mara whispered, "I was mad at God. Until today." I nodded. I didn't even talk to him. She looked at me. And now? I didn't have a speech. I only had truth. "Now I think he's been talking," I said. "And I've been ignoring him." Mara's eyes softened. She stepped closer. Her hand found mine. This time it touched. And the touch felt like a promise. Not loud. Just real. But could something this fragile survive tomorrow? Before I left, Mara handed me the note. She had unfolded it fully. I had only read the first line. I hadn't checked the back. "There's more," she said. Her voice was careful. My heart thumped hard. I turned it over. There was another line. Smaller handwriting. "When you find her, choose courage." I stared at it. My throat tightened. Mara watched my face. She waited. "What does that mean?" she asked. Her eyes searched mine. I didn't want to answer. Because I already knew. Courage meant staying connected. Not disappearing like I always did. Courage meant being present. Even when it cost me pride. Courage meant telling Mara the truth. That I felt something deeper than coincidence. I took a slow breath. I looked at her. "I'm afraid," I admitted. My voice was low. Mara nodded once. "So am I." I held the note between us. Like a bridge. "I don't want to run," I said. "Not from this." Mara's eyes filled again. But her smile was small and real. "Then don't," she whispered. And right there, on a quiet porch, I did the simplest faith thing I knew. I prayed out loud. Short and shaky. "God," I said, "help me be the man who stays." Mara didn't speak. She just squeezed my hand. And I felt that same gentle presence again. Not forcing. Just guiding. The nudge wasn't pushing us into love. It was protecting us from fear. In the weeks that followed, I visited often. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to. That was new. Mara and I talked in the kitchen. We laughed quietly. Sometimes we sat in silence. And it didn't feel empty. Her mother watched us with peace. Like prayer had finally come home. One night Mara asked, "Do you still feel it?" The nudge. I nodded. "Not always. But when it comes," I said, "it feels like love with a flashlight." Mara smiled through tears. That's the best description. We didn't rush anything. We didn't need to. Because real love doesn't shout. It stays. And faith doesn't always roar either. Sometimes it only nudges. I kept the note in my wallet. It wasn't magic paper. It was a reminder that God can guide without noise. That prayers can travel through ordinary streets. And find the right heart. That healing can look like a family table. And a hand that doesn't let go. And if you've ever felt a small nudge you couldn't explain, maybe it wasn't random. Maybe it was mercy. Quietly trying to lead you home. If this story sat heavy on your heart, let it stay. Some stories reach us when we need them. If you felt something gentle while listening, tap like so more people can find it. And if you want more untold faith stories like this, subscribe and stay close. I also leave faith-building books and resources in the description. Only if you feel led to explore deeper. Because sometimes God doesn't shout. He nudges. And the people who listen don't stay the same.